The snow was falling slowly, like feathers from the clouds, gently landing on the rooftops of the tiniest town you could ever imagine. Inside a little round snow globe that sat on a windowsill of a quiet cottage, something magical stirred. The town inside the snow globe was no bigger than a teacup. Its snowy streets were lined with tiny houses that had roofs made of candy-colored tiles and windows that glowed like warm lanterns in the night. Each home had a chimney that puffed out soft swirls of steam that smelled faintly of cinnamon and sleepy dreams. This was Snowbell Town. A town so peaceful, so gentle, it could only exist inside a dream or a snow globe. And right in the center of it, curled up in a little wooden cottage with a peppermint-colored door, was a tiny mouse named Pip. Pip wore a soft scarf knitted from starlight threads and fuzzy socks that made his feet feel like they were wrapped in clouds. He had just finished sipping a warm mug of honey vanilla milk and was tucking himself into his marshmallow fluff blanket when he heard it. Tick, tick, tick. The clock tower in the town square gave its bedtime chime, a soft, lullaby hum that floated through the snow like music drifting through a dream. "It's almost time," Pip whispered to himself, yawning so wide his whiskers wiggled. You see, in Snowbell Town, something very special happened each night just before bed. A gentle ritual called the glow drift. It was when the entire town slowed down, the snow sparkled extra bright, and the dream lanterns floated through the sky like sleepy fireflies, guiding all the tiny creatures of the snow globe to their coziest dreams. Pip pulled on his night hat, which had a little silver bell that jingled like a whisper, and stepped outside into the gentle hush of night. The air was chilly, but not cold. The kind of chilly that makes your nose crinkle but your heart feel extra warm. The snow beneath his tiny boots gave the softest crunch, like cotton candy underfoot, and the glow of candlelit windows made the whole town look like it had been dipped in golden magic. Far above, in the domed glass sky of the snow globe, the stars were blinking slowly. Not rushing, not twinkling too fast. Just breathing gently with the world below. And somewhere in the distance, a dream lantern blinked to life. Pip's eyes twinkled with wonder. Tonight, he would follow the lantern. Tonight, he would wander through the quiet snow, meet the other sleepy creatures, and see where the glow drift would lead him. With a full tummy, a happy heart, and a scarf snug around his neck, Pip began to walk, softly, slowly, into the silver snow hush of bedtime. And the adventure, quiet and magical, had begun. As Pip the tiny mouse tiptoed down the snowy path, he felt the hush of the town wrap around him like a warm bedtime blanket. The snow drifted lazily through the air, catching in the soft glow of lanterns that hung from curved candy cane posts. They didn't flicker loudly, no, they glowed like yawns. Slow. Gentle. Sleepy. Everything in Snowbell Town moved at a bedtime pace. The snowflakes didn't fall, they floated. The wind didn't blow, it hummed. Pip passed by Miss Flurry's bakery, where the windows were foggy with warm breath and the smell of freshly baked vanilla sugar bread made the air feel even cozier. He waved to Miss Flurry, who was just turning her open sign to SHHH, Dream Time. She smiled through the glass and held up a small napkin-wrapped pastry with a tiny sleepy face drawn on it. Pip took it with a grateful bow and tucked it into his satchel, just in case he met someone who needed a bedtime nibble later. Down the lane, he came to Button Bridge, a tiny wooden bridge that stretched across a sleepy stream made of silvery syrup that only flowed during dream hours. The bridge had round little stepping planks and tiny snowbells that jingled softly when walked upon. As Pip crossed, he paused in the middle to gaze at the syrupy water. Reflected in it were the dream lanterns, small floating orbs that had begun their evening journey across the snow globe sky. Each one glowed a different sleepy color, soft lavender, sleepy peach, dusky blue, buttercream yellow. They didn't fly in a rush, they meandered, swaying gently, making trails of shimmer like a sleepy parade of nightlights. Pip took a deep breath, letting the dreamy scents of warm pine and slow-falling snow fill his nose. The air had a secret in it tonight, he could feel it. As he stepped off Button Bridge, he saw a tiny figure bundled in a hat almost bigger than their body. It was Tula, the sleepy fox cub who lived in a mushroom house at the edge of the woods. "Tula," Pip called softly, "are you watching the dream lanterns, too?" Tula turned, her big amber eyes blinking slow with wonder. "Pip," she whispered. "I was hoping someone would walk with me. My dreams feel quiet tonight, like they're hiding." Pip smiled. "Let's find them together." Side by side, the two small friends walked beneath the swaying trees of the Lullaby Grove. The trees here were tall but gentle, with silvery bark and soft moss that made every step soundless. Little puffs of snow fell now and then, like white feathers shaken from pillows in the sky. They passed a snail wearing a scarf who waved slowly from under a mushroom cap. A sleepy beetle snoozed in a hammock made of spider silk, rocking back and forth with the breeze. All around them, the forest glowed with bedtime softness. Soon they reached Whisper Hollow, a quiet open space filled with tiny glowing cattails and twinkling dream mist. In the center, a cozy stone bench sat nestled in the snow, and upon it sat Marla, the owl librarian of the Snowglobe. Marla blinked slowly. "Ah, little dreamers," she cooed, her voice like a blanket. "Following the lanterns tonight, are we?" Pip and Tula nodded. Marla smiled, and from beneath her wing, she pulled out a tiny velvet pouch. She opened it and sprinkled a pinch of sparkle dust into the air. The dust danced upwards and formed a sleepy swirl of light, a story cloud. Within the swirl, a soft image began to form, a dream mouse riding a silver snowflake through the stars. Pip's whiskers twitched. "That's me. Dreams remember us," Marla said, "even when we forget to dream." Tula leaned her head on Pip's shoulder. The air felt warmer now, even with snow still falling. The glow of the dream lanterns drifted closer, their colors melting together like sleepy watercolors. As the story cloud faded, Marla yawned a great owl yawn and tucked herself into a hollow tree. Pip and Tula continued on, now more sure of where they were going, even if they didn't know the exact path. Some journeys don't need maps. Just warmth, soft footsteps, and good company. The sleepy town around them breathed slowly as the two little friends followed the lanterns deeper into the Snowglobe night, one glowing step at a time, toward something magical. The snow beneath Pip and Tula's feet began to shimmer more brightly as they walked past the Lullaby Grove. The dream mist drifted lazily through the air like soft cotton, and somewhere in the distance, a sleepy chime rang out. It was the bell tower of Dreampoint Square, letting the town know it was almost time for the great evening yawn. "Do you think we'll make it in time?" Tula asked, her nose twitching with excitement and her hat slipping slightly over one ear. "We will," Pip said with a small smile, adjusting her hat gently. "But even if we didn't, the best dreams never come from being on time. They come from being present." They padded through the hush of the lantern-lit path, their paws making soft crinkles in the snow. As they approached a winding tunnel of snow-topped bushes, they were greeted by two snuggling rabbits curled into a heart shape, humming the yawning song. It was a lullaby every creature in Snowbell Town knew, one that had no words, just the soft sound of dreaming. The tunnel led them to the sleepy train tracks, tiny golden rails that looped in and around the hills like ribbons. The Dream Puff train sat still tonight, its chimney puffing out small clouds of lavender steam, shaped like stars and sleepy moons. It wouldn't run until every creature in the town was tucked in bed. That's what made it magical, it only moved when no one was watching. "Let's leave it a bedtime gift," Pip whispered. From his satchel, he took out the little pastry from Miss Flurry's bakery and placed it carefully on the platform bench. Tula took off one of her mittens, soft and knitted from dream yarn, and tucked it beside the pastry. "Sweet dreams, Dream Puff," she said, her breath visible in the cold air. Further down the path, they passed the Pond of Floating Wishes, a small frozen pond where sleepy lily pads glowed with wishes left by dreamers. Tula pointed to one, where a baby duckling had drawn a wish with their feather in the frost. It said, "I hope my mama's dreams are filled with songs." Pip's heart warmed. "Snowbell dreams always carry songs," he said, looking at the peaceful ripples of music curling through the mist. A soft hoot above them drew their eyes upward. High in the branches, sleepy songbirds were tucking their heads under their wings, and the sky itself seemed to breathe out a long, slow exhale. "It's getting darker," Tula said, leaning gently into Pip. "That means it's almost time," Pip replied. And so they continued, past the soft-singing stream, past the houses with candlelit windows and little bedtime notes hanging on strings like snowflakes with whispers on them. One said, "Good night, stars. I heard you twinkle." Another said, "Thank you, snow, for softening the world." And a tiny, very sleepy one simply read, "I'll see you in my dreams." At last, they reached Dreampoint Square. The lanterns were gathered overhead like a floating ceiling of sleepy fireflies, all humming the same barely their tune. All around, the creatures of Snowbell Town were gathering, wrapped in quilts, wearing fuzzy slippers, holding steaming mugs of warm starlight milk. Old Mrs. Pebble, the turtle, was already dozing in her chair by the fountain. The square was glowing, but not brightly, just enough to see, just enough to feel safe. There were snow couches and cushy mushroom stools. There was a hush that didn't ask for silence but invited it. The kind of hush that made your eyes blink slower, your shoulders drop, your thoughts drift like feathers. Pip and Tula climbed onto the low stone bench near the center of the square, just as the lanterns started to swirl above them, gathering like sleepy stars preparing to tuck in the sky. And then, as if carried by wind or perhaps by magic, the great evening yawn began. First, a gentle fox yawned with their entire body, stretching their paws into the air. Then a hedgehog gave a squeaky sigh and snuggled into their blanket. And then, like a wave, it spread, slow, soft yawns passed from friend to friend, from window to window, until all of Snowbell Town was yawning together, a symphony of sleepiness. Pip felt his own yawn rise like a balloon. He looked to Tula. Her eyes were heavy, her hat had slipped completely over one ear, and a smile rested gently on her face. Above them, the dream lanterns dimmed slightly, becoming dreamier, hazier, more distant, signaling that the time had come. But the night wasn't over. There was one more gentle surprise waiting. A tiny, twinkling sound echoed from the tallest rooftop. A sparkle spiraled down. The Dreamkeeper was coming. And with her came the softest snowfall of stars. The Dreamkeeper floated gently down from the rooftop, her long scarf trailing behind her like a soft cloud ribbon. She was a tiny, gentle owl named Nyla, her feathers silver with hints of moonlight, her eyes calm and round like the first snowflake of winter. Wrapped in a shawl stitched from old lullabies, she moved without sound, as if the air itself bent to keep her arrival hush-hush. Everyone in Snowbell Town looked up slowly, blinking through the soft snow that drifted like sleepy sparkles. Some little ones were already nodding off, their heads curled on their caretaker's shoulders. Others, like Pip and Tula, simply smiled and let their eyes grow heavy with the magic that followed Nyla wherever she flew. Nyla fluttered to the center of Dreampoint Square, landing on the small, round Dreamstone, the smooth crystal seat where the nightly stories were told. When her talons touched the stone, the lanterns above her dimmed until they glowed like tiny candle stars, and the snowflakes paused in the air, hanging still like frozen feathers. Without saying a word, Nyla opened her satchel. Inside were glimmers, not objects, tiny flickers of memory and dream, shaped like bubbles that shimmered with color. She pulled out the first one and held it to the lantern light. Inside the bubble, a picture swirled to life. A squirrel was curling into a leaf bed, hugging a snowberry plushie. The crowd smiled, soft sighs rising from every blanket and quilt. She released the bubble into the sky, and it floated upward, joining a trail of dreams gathering in the stars above. Then, another. This one showed a tiny bear painting warm honey on the windowsill for the wind spirits, a gift before bed. Another bubble, a baby mole wearing oversized glasses, reading a bedtime book upside down. Each dream was shared, like a lullaby passed hand to hand, heart to heart. And with each floating vision, the town became quieter, stiller, warmer. Pip looked at Tula. She was leaning on his shoulder now, her breath slow and soft. He placed his paw over hers. Nyla's voice finally rang out, not loud, not startling, but so gentle it felt like a snowflake landing on your cheek. Her words floated more than they spoke. In every Snowglobe town, she said, there lives a quiet magic. It doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. It simply waits for us to notice. In the hush between yawns, in the warmth of a blanket, in the sleepy flicker of a lantern's glow. That is where dreams begin. The dream lanterns above flickered once, twice, and then began to slowly spin, creating soft halos of light that danced gently over the cobblestones and rooftops. Tonight, Nyla whispered, we float with the stars. From her satchel, she pulled one last bubble. This one was larger than the others. Inside was the entire town. But tinier. As if Snowbell Town itself was inside a snow globe, and inside that, even smaller dreams waiting to be discovered. She gave it a small breath, and it rose, up, up, into the sky, joining the dream ribbon that circled the moon above. A soft hush settled over the square. The dreamkeeper tucked her wings gently around herself, let her eyes close, and drifted into sleep right there on the dreamstone. And in response, the town slowly followed. Lanterns dimmed. Blankets rustled. Cocoa mugs were set aside. No one needed to speak. Because in Snowbell Town, bedtime didn't need permission. It simply arrived. Like snow. Like stars. Like dreams. And just as Pip and Tula leaned back onto their soft mushroom bench, letting the glow of the lanterns wash over them like moonlight rain, a quiet tickling breeze whispered through the square, wrapping everyone in a sleep so gentle, it could only exist in a place like this. A Snowglobe town. A magical hush. A world made for dreaming. But the story isn't over just yet. Because something soft, something sparkly, was beginning to stir beneath the snow. Beneath the snowy cobblestones of Snowbell Town, something quietly shimmered. It wasn't loud. It didn't shake or rumble. It was more like a whisper, the gentle, glowy hum of something very old and very kind, waking up just for tonight. The snow at the edge of Dreampoint Square began to glow a soft pale blue, like the edge of a soap bubble in sunlight. Pip noticed it first. He blinked his sleepy eyes and tilted his head, the tip of his scarf trailing across his paws. Tula, he murmured, nudging his friend gently. Tula stirred, blinking slowly, her ears twitching. Look, Pip whispered, pointing toward the light. The glow grew just a little brighter, until the snow softly melted in one perfect circle, and from beneath it rose something wonderful. A snow sprout. It looked like a tiny crystal tree, no taller than Pip's tail, with branches like silver lace and little starberries blooming at the tips. As it gently swayed in the moonlight, it began to release a peaceful sound, like a lullaby made from wind chimes and yawns. All across the square, other sprouts began to rise, slow and steady, as if the snow itself had been waiting all year to sing this bedtime song. The snow sprouts shimmered. One by one, they hummed a soft lullaby into the sky. And then, the snow spirits arrived. Small, floating bundles of fluff and light, with tiny glowing eyes and the softest little sighs for voices. They drifted down like sleepy dandelion seeds, each one curling gently around the sprouts, humming along, their tiny puffs glowing in the colors of dreams, lavender, stardust blue, and sleepy rose. The townsfolk barely moved now, wrapped in blankets or resting in rocking chairs, paws curled around plush toys, tails flicking slowly as they drifted deeper into dreamland. Even Nyla, the dreamkeeper, who rarely ever slept while others did, had nestled into her feathers with a tiny yawn that tickled the snow. Pip and Tula stood up slowly and walked to the middle of the square, where the tallest snow sprout had bloomed. It had one glowing starberry left, pulsing gently with a golden glow. The moment Pip touched it, the sprout released a sigh like a snowflake exhaling, and a ribbon of light began to float out into the sky. It drifted up and up until it reached the glass dome ceiling of the Snowglobe, where it curled into the stars and shimmered like a sleepy shooting star caught in a hug. Tula reached up and placed her paw gently over Pip's. "You made a bedtime wish, didn't you?" she asked, her voice barely more than a breath. Pip nodded. "I wished for everyone to have the coziest dream." Just then, the dream bell in the clock tower chimed once. Not loud. Not sharp. Just a soft, round bing that seemed to drift across the rooftops and down into every heart in the town. That was the signal. The final lullaby note. The quiet sigh that said, everything is safe. Everything is warm. Everything is ready for sleep. All around the square, the lanterns began to flicker out one by one, leaving only the glow of the snow sprouts and the faint glitter of starlight above. Pip and Tula curled up right there in the middle of the square, on a velvet cushion that the snow spirits gently lowered for them. The snow tucked itself around them like a soft blanket. The lanterns above blinked sleepily, then closed their eyes too. And as the whole town fell into the gentlest sleep, a voice echoed softly through the globe, maybe from the stars, or maybe from the dreams themselves. It whispered, "You are safe. You are loved. You are home," and with that, even the wind stopped to rest. But just beyond the glass, in the world outside the snow globe, a child somewhere, maybe you, held that globe close under their blanket. And if you listened very carefully, you could almost hear the hush of Snowbell Town and feel the glow of those dreamy lanterns shining softly into your dreams. And the story continues, just as your eyes gently close. The snow outside the tiny cottage windows had settled into a soft, glittering blanket, so light and still that it looked like powdered stars had fallen from the sky and decided to stay. Inside the snow globe, everything was quiet now. Even the wind had gone to sleep. Nyla, the dreamkeeper owl, sat in her cozy nook at the very top of the old clock tower, her fluffy feathers tucked around her like a quilt made of clouds. She gazed down at the square below where the lanterns had gone out and the snow had curled itself around the sleepy creatures like a gentle hug. She watched Pip and Tula on their velvet cushion, already deep in their dreams. Pip's little tail twitched now and then, the way tails do when you're dreaming of marshmallow meadows or riding on clouds made of cake. Tula's ear flopped over her face as she snored the tiniest, softest snore you've ever heard. Nyla smiled. Then she closed the Dreamkeeper's book with a featherlight flap and whispered the words that always came last. "Let the dreams come gently now, and let them stay till morning light." And with that, a shimmer rolled across the inside of the snow globe like a wave of golden moonlight. It passed over every roof, every tree, every tucked-in tail and floppy paw, wrapping the whole town in a magical stillness, the kind that only shows up when the world is truly ready to rest. But outside the snow globe, in the bedroom where it sat on a little nightstand next to a child's bed, another kind of stillness was happening too. The snow globe glowed faintly in the dim light of the room, casting soft glimmers across the ceiling. Every now and then, a tiny snow spirit could be seen swirling inside it, dancing lazily through the hush of dreams. And nearby, a pair of sleepy eyes, maybe yours, watched the little town inside. Watched as the lights blinked slower. As the rooftops disappeared into a mist of moon-sparkled snow. As the glow of the snow sprout tree dimmed into a soft pulse, like a heartbeat made of stardust. Outside your window, the night sky stretched wide and calm. The moon was smiling, full and round, keeping a gentle watch over you just like Nyla did for her town. A few sleepy clouds drifted past, and the stars seemed to whisper lullabies just for you. You tucked your blanket a little tighter, your pillow cradling your head just right. And as your eyes blinked slower, and finally closed, the snow globe pulsed one more time. Not loudly. Just a little whisper of magic. A shimmer of warmth. A sleepy sigh that said, "You are here. You are safe. You are loved. The dreams you need will find you." And they did. In your dreams tonight, you may walk the cobbled streets of Snowbell Town yourself. You may sip starlight tea with Pip. Or ride on a floating snow spirit with Tula through the lantern-lit skies. You may visit the secret meadow where snowflakes are born or curl up beneath the dreamkeeper's feathers as she reads one last page just for you. Wherever your dreams take you, know that they are soft and slow and good. Just like the snow that never melts. Just like the lanterns that never burn out. Just like the love that tucks you in, night after night, no matter where you are. Sleep gently, little dreamer. The snow globe is quiet now. And so are you.